and as always, bringing you nothing but the very best. But tonight's interview, tonight's conversation is more personal for me. I mean, you'll understand once we get into it. This was my first teacher in the game of basketball because I didn't bounce a ball till I got to Simeon, and he walked me through every drop, step, jump, hook, and even the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sky hook. He is one of the leaders and probably the energy guy for the Flying Illini. Without this man, they are not in Seattle. But we're going to have some fun tonight. I got a few questions for him. We got my big brother, Ervin Small.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing, D? It's good to see you, my brother.
Brother, I'm always good when I got you on, and I got you around.
That's right.
Good. How are you?
That's right.
How's Hot Atlanta doing down there?
Oh man, I love it, man. I went traded for the world, man. Went traded for the world. I'm looking for you to come back down, man, so we can spend some more time together.
Oh, no doubt. I'm definitely coming back. I'm definitely, especially with that palatial estate that you have going on down there. You know, right. I'm coming back.
Oh yeah. It's a little bit better now since you was last year, but you gotta come see. I ain't gonna even tell you. You gotta come see.
Well, no, I'm definitely coming back, brother. Before we jump into all that stuff, man, how's your grandson doing? He's still getting his ball on?
Man, my grandson is doing awesome. He is he came in third in nationals for 7U. Wow. He's a defensive back, and not a defensive back, he's a defensive end. He plays on the line, and he's doing awesome, man. He's the next one, and he's the next one. He's the next Illini. He loves Illinois. He got a really good treat thanks to you guys for his birthday, and he got an opportunity to go watch the guys practice. And for his birthday, which was in October, he got a chance to go, which he's been on campus and stuff before, but it was more special because now he's 8. You know,
oh, time is going by fast.
Right. So he's doing awesome, man. He led his team in sacks. He led his team in what he calls pancakes. So he's doing awesome, man. He's doing good. I'm so proud of him. And he's on the honor roll, D.
Even better, even more.
He's on the honor roll. That's the good thing. Yeah.
You talk about pancakes. You know, I wake up every morning and I watch Big Jeff Saturday when he's on ESPN, always talking about the pancakes. Same kind of pancakes?
Yeah. Same kind of pancakes. That's my grandson. He knocked the kid over, and he knocked him over. He was on the offensive line, and he stood over him. He was doing some kind of dance. I thought it was a basketball dance. I said, "What you doing?" He said, "Oh, I pancaked him. I forgot to put the syrup on him." So I said, "Oh my God, who's teaching you this stuff?" That sounds like something I would do, back in my day.
Oh man, he said you got to put the syrup on. Was it full maple syrup or was it?
Hey, I don't know, but whatever he was doing, I told him don't do that no more. That's not cool.
Oh man, well, little fella ain't the only one you turned out. Baby girl went, she was hooping and everything.
Yeah.
You of course you come from an athletic family. Pop made you an athlete, and then you go ahead and baby girl's hooping too. How's she doing now?
She's doing great, man. Man, D, this is awesome because what she's doing right now, man, is pretty remarkable. She's a school teacher, but she just started her own 501c3.
Okay.
And she is trying to open a community center in a closed down YMCA in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So she is doing some big things. And I just try to support her, man, and try to guide her and try to be a advice and give her, whatever I can give her. So if there's any Illini fans looking to make some donations, I'll give you the link, Deon, and you can most definitely put it out there for her.
Well, we're gonna definitely do that, because you got to help family. Family helps family.
That's right.
We got a nice base of Illini Nation that sits and they listen to this pod, man. It's blowing up with the help of the Field of 68 and and our sponsors. So if anything we can share to give back, especially the Illini Nation, we're gonna do it.
Yes. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, no doubt, bro. This is one of those things, man. You know where we come from.
Uh-huh.
You know where we come from.
Right.
I mean, and of course, Hambrick, we had to do things the Simeon way. So
That's right.
we'll get into the Simeon way. But even
Right.
knowing where we're from, did you see your daughter doing what she's doing, grandson doing what he's doing, you sitting back and being able to love all of that?
I didn't see it, Deon. I mean, but that's the good part about it, because if we could see the future, some of the mistakes and stuff that we make, we would never make them. You know what I'm saying? Some of the things that we know that we could have done to make life better for us. But that's the good part. God blesses us to enable us to see things, you know, and to have faith. You know what I mean? So our faith, it makes our faith that much stronger, and it allows us to get another opportunity tomorrow to do what we could have did yesterday. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Man. I'm going to take you back now. And, you know, of course, as I mentioned, you were my first teacher of the game of basketball. Bob Hambrick. I say that name to you. What does that do for you? What feelings did that elicit for you?
That gives me a chill in my body, because the man meant so much to me, and I think it was vice versa with me and him. We had a hell of a relationship. I was able to. He actually wrote his own obituary, which a lot of people may not know, and I was fortunate in one of his players that he asked to speak at his funeral. So I hold that really, really high in my heart. But when you talk about Bob Hambrick, you talk about a person who was a perfectionist, a person who was no nonsense, a person who was, if you were loyal to him, he was loyal to you. So he was loyal. He was a father figure for some of us, who, even with the father in the home, he was a father figure, and he was a disciplinarian. And I think that was probably the most one of the hardest things that I had to deal with, is being disciplined. Coming from Inglewood, which is, we from the same neighborhood, coming from Inglewood, and being different. He wanted us to be different. And I think that most guys who've ever played at Simeon, or who've ever been around Hambrick, they are different and they make a difference. So that's the kind of person that he wanted us to be. And that's what he expected, but he also made sure that he gave everything within him to make sure that we was able to get what we needed to get and where we needed to get. You know?
Yeah, I concur with everything you just said, man. I remember when I came in as a freshman, you guys used to always be like, "Yeah, that's his son. That's his son."
Yeah, but we all got that. When I was a sophomore and freshman, they was like, "Oh, that's your daddy. That's your daddy. Say hey to your daddy. Here come your daddy." So, you know, but now that I look at it, I'm proud of the fact that, you know, that I could say that Bob Hambrick was my daddy. You know what I mean? Because what he stood for was excellence, and he did not stand for anything less than that.
Man, no doubt. And that was one of the things that, you know, I tell people, I'm working on a book now called My Forefathers. And he is in that book as one of my forefathers. You know, I'm four, like the number 4. So that's my grandfather when I was a young kid. Then it was Coach Hambrick, and then it was my stepfather, and then it was Coach C. You know, those were my forefathers that helped raise me. And I didn't understand, as most young people don't, what Coach Hambrick was trying to give us, was trying to teach us. You know, all I knew is I didn't want that damn paddle. So when he said do, I did. You know, but I didn't really understand it until after the fact. But you talk about the character, you talk about the man. I mean, when he made us, you know, I say the Simeon way, and I'm sure heard me say that. We could not act outside of the perimeters. We had to be disciplined. We had to be smart. I tell people, when they used to trip on me when I was sitting in the front of the class, I told them, I was like, man, we had to sit in the front of the class at Simeon.
Yeah, that's right.
We couldn't go to the back of the class.
That's right. That's right.
Man, and if Hambrick walked past there and saw you in the back of the class or cutting up, you know that paddle was coming, boy.
Hey, yeah, you gonna get it right. Hey, and sometimes he he'll call you out of class and give it to you and send you back. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, yeah, but Bob was one of those guys, man, that again, he was no nonsense. And like you said, you don't really appreciate it until later on in life, man, because if you think about where we are today, as far as our family and the things, a lot of that discipline comes from when you was a youth. And a lot of it comes from, and just like your girls are athletic and all that, it's you instill that into them. You instill the things that, because all we can give them is what we know.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't give our kids or grandkids anything other than what we know and what we was taught. And so your teaching has to be passed on. It's just like any other thing in your life. You know what I mean? You got to pass it on, you know, to the next generation, you know? Even if it means breaking curses.
Well, and that's what we did. We had to break curses.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. Even if it means breaking curses, you know. So
exactly. Hey. You know, your family, like my family, was not always on the right side, but this is where people like Hamburg came in and really helped straighten us out and point us in the right direction. I got another name for you, and I know how close you guys were. Now, I never had the opportunity to meet this person, but he is the reason my older brother, which you met my brother Derek, you know, he was the reason that I ended up at Simeon. My brother told me, first of all, you're not playing baseball no more. You're going to play basketball. And then he told my mom, we got to send him to Simeon because if Bob Hambrick can make a Ben Wilson, he can make a Deon Thomas.
Yeah.
You had a great relationship with Ben. Of course, you guys were there. Tell me a little bit about the man, other than what I know from watching on television, because I was in 8th grade at the time and didn't have an opportunity to meet him, but you did.
Right. I met Ben. I was a freshman. He was a year older than I was. He was a sophomore, and he was on the varsity, you know, as a sophomore. And I mean, when I first met him, I was like, oh, who's this little skinny kid? You know what I mean? Like, man, I can't wait to get in practice. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do him, right? So you get in practice and everybody talking about, man, that's Benji, that's Benji, that's Benji. I'm like, oh, okay. But he was a joyful, jolly guy. He played around a lot. He loved to joke. He loved to have fun. So I'm thinking, oh man, this, you know, and he was one of the ones that could joke and play around with Hambrick, even with Hambrick being serious. Wow. You know, he was one of those type, like, man, you know, he could joke, oh, Hambrick, man, oh, you know, all right, man, hey, stop playing so much, man. Stop playing so much. So, but when I met Ben, man, he was just, and when I had Jim with him, and we was having Jim, and that's when I seen him hoop, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, man, this dude is stupidly talented. And we just became really good friends, man. And we became really good friends. And, you know, what happened was a tragedy to me. It still hurts me to this day. It took me a long time to watch the documentary, the 30 for 30, because it brought back too many feelings. It brought back too many, you know, my junior year, which would have been his senior year, we were the first team in Simeon that was ranked the #1 team in the country. Ben was the #1 player in the country, but we were the #1 team with me and him and Nick Anderson and David Knight and Deion Butler, you know, and so we were the #1 team in the country and deserving so. We had a great team, man. I mean, the tradition that Hambrick had started to build at that time, which was before us a little bit with the '84 state championship team and the teams before us. But Ben was a good guy, man. I don't think he'd hurt a fly, but super talented. I tell people, and I know this is going out on a limb, and a lot of people may not like what I'm about to say, but I tell people, had Ben Wilson lived, Michael Jordan may not have been the greatest basketball player that they ever seen. I say that all the time, and I mean it.
You just took the word. My next question was to you is, because, you know, there's always a debate. Who's the best in the city? Who's the best to come out of the state? So with that statement alone, I think I know where you stand. Because I tell people ask me, now I never saw Ben play outside of watching him on television when they were making the state championship run, but I hadn't seen anyone with just a myriad of skills that could shoot it, put it on the floor,
Right.
hit the rack, that would dunk on you, that could shoot it with range, even though it wasn't a 3-point line at that time. But he was shooting way beyond 3-point range. So when people ask me who's the best player to come out of the city, I've seen some guys that were really good, but to me, that guy is the best guy to come out of the city that I saw. And then everybody else is kind of like, no disrespect to Jabari or guys like that. They're kind of mimics of him.
Right. Well, I think that I think you dead on. When you talk about Simeon basketball, and we just talk about Simeon, I think to me, he was the greatest that I've seen. And I mean, I'm not taking nothing from, like you said, Jabari or Derrick Rose or none of those people, but the reason why Derrick Rose and Jabari Parker probably came to Simeon was because of Ben Wilson, even back then, you know what I mean? And I tell people, you got to think about two things that at Simeon, I mean, in the state, in his year, which would have been 85, would have been the year he came out. You got to think of some of the guys who just in the state of Illinois, like Lowell.
Yeah.
Like Lowell Hamilton. Lowell was ranked 2. You got guys like Melvin McCants that played at Purdue.
Yep.
You got guys like Ed Horton who played at Iowa. So you know how good those guys were. You know how good those guys were. So imagine him being above them. So if you want to compare, let's go to the experts, and the experts say, hey, these are some of the guys. Now, this is one thing that I love to brag about. In 85, a lot of people don't know, but it was 3 first round draft picks that came from that class. One of them was, actually it's the Red South. I think it was the 90 draft, 89 draft that Nick was in. Yeah. And it was 3 guys from our conference, just our conference alone, that were first round picks. Nick, Tim Hardaway, played at Carver, and Byron Ervin from Julie.
Yep.
So that show you how tough the competition was just in the conference, not in the whole. We're not talking about the whole city of Chicago. That's just in our conference. Those are the guys you got to play every day. I mean, in your conference, Yeah. So, that conference back then was, the 85, 86. I mean, even it was tough when you guys was there. Y'all played a lot of King though, but but that conference was really, really tough back then.
It takes me, so funny you say that. It takes me back to when I was at the McDonald's All-American game. And after our first practice, well, better yet, we hadn't even practiced yet. I'm sorry. On our interview when we got there. So the reporter asked me, he was like, hey, well, what do you think about this? How they've assembled some of the top, players in the country. There's a lot of talent here. I literally looked at him, and maybe this is the arrogant part of me. I looked at him, I said, dude, I play in the Chicago Public League.
That's right. That's right.
I'm like, I play against dudes like this every day. This is
better, actually better than most of these guys, probably.
Yes.
You think about it, man. I mean, it's a ton of that whole era, man. It was so much talent just in the public league. You look at Robeson's, which is the schools that we were supposed to go to, both of us. Yep. You look at the Robesons, the Paul Robesons. they had Jerome Childs and they had Greg Jones, Terrence. I mean, Robeson and Smooth and D-Train and they had Robeson was good, King was good. It was Farragut was good. It was just in our conference though. Carver and
South Shore, CBS.
That's right, Juwan. You and Juwan had some battles. So I mean, just think about that. You know what I mean? It's just when you talk about the talent that you had to play against, it's crazy that it's the McDonald's game, but they need to assemble something like that. Which I remember back in the day when I was a senior, we used to have a city suburban game. I don't know if they had that same thing when you was there, but it was the city guys against the suburban guys, and it was fun. You know what I'm saying? You got to play against all of Suburbans, and it was just fun, man. It was a fun time. You know what I mean? And those all-star games and those games at the end of the season be special because you're like, I wonder what it feel like, man, to throw a lob to Lavertus Robinson.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying? Or maybe make a pass to Marcus Liberty on the break or something. You know what I mean? Because you playing against these guys, but then all of a sudden you playing with them. Yeah. You know. So
no, amazing time, man. Chicago basketball was amazing. You know, on your team when you came out, and you know, you had Georgia Tech was the big school for you.
Right.
Illinois was, of course, there because Coach Collins, you know, was there a lot of amongst other coaches that was always around. Why'd you choose Illinois, E?
Honestly, Jimmy Collins. I mean, it's nothing more to be said. I chose Illinois because coming from Simeon, which is what we just talked about, and the father figure that I was used to and accustomed to, I seen some of those same features when I talked to Coach Collins.
Yeah.
I tried to, you know, I thought, I was like, well, they really don't want me, man. They really want Nick. Nick is the prize. You know, I'm thinking, well, Nick is the prize. Coach Collins came in and assured me, like, no. He was like, I came to watch Ben play, man, and y'all played St. Mel. You had 25 points, 13 rebounds. He always reminded me of that. He was like, so we not just coming here just to get Nick, man. Nick already signed. And Coach he used to really tell me this all the time. He's like, why would I continue to recruit you if Nick signed? Nick signed on a plane going to the Dapper Dan right after the season was over. He was like, why would I constantly recruit you or keep coming to your house and keep begging your mother to let me, you know, why would I constantly, you know, if I didn't want you? And so that kind of made a lot of sense to me. And I'm glad that he did. I'm glad that I was able to be a part of something that the university first time, you know, going through a process and kind of setting the groundwork for guys like yourself and you know, even that 05 team, you know what I mean? They had something to model. They had something to model. The university was so wanting the winner. They had something to model the program after, you know. But Jimmy Collins was the main reason. He was the only reason. I remember I had committed, and I think I told you the story. I had committed. I had went to Georgia Tech, and I committed. I said, man, I'm going, because Georgia Tech was in the running all of the time from when I was a sophomore. You know how Hamrick used to have this box in his office. He never let us get the mail.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody was recruiting you, you didn't know. He never let you talk to the media. You know, the media don't need to hear from you. They need to talk to me. But when I went to finally get this box, this, you know, he had it in a rubber band, and I seen all the letters from Georgia Tech. I was like, oh my God. You know, so when I went there on a recruiting visit, I committed. And he was like, oh no, Bob Hamrick said, oh no, we don't do that. We talk it over with our parents, our coach. We talk things over. We don't just make decisions off because how we feel warm and fuzzy inside. We don't make those kind of decisions.
Exactly.
We make decisions. Right. We make smart decisions. We don't do things because it feels good to us at that particular time. So I was like, oh man, this is my decision. He called Coach Clemens, who Bobby Clemens was the coach at Georgia Tech. He said, hey, let him think about it. Give him a day or two after you get back, talk to his parents, talk to his mom, and let's figure out. We'll keep it in mind. And it made sense after he broke it down to me. And it seemed like Coach Collins turned it on even harder then, boy.
See, that's one of the things people don't understand, because I'm going to ask you this question and then I'll finish my statement. What do you think about the glue guy on a basketball team?
Well, the glue guy is the person. Just think about glue. Glue is the thing that holds everything together, right? It repairs things, it fixes things. When something is broken or it's not what it's supposed to be, you put some glue on it and it holds it in place until you can get a final repair, you know? So I think that glue guys who are glue guys, they know what their job is. They do it to the best of their ability, and they make sure that everything else runs perfectly when they're in the game, or they make sure it's better than, when whoever went down or whatever's going on. But those are people that you can depend on every single night.
And you know where I'm going with this, right? Because
right.
Nick was the guy, but people don't realize how you were a scorer in high school.
Right.
You were a rebounder. I mean, you had, again, Georgia Tech doesn't come all the way to Illinois to recruit unless you can get it done. And they're not bringing you over there to be the rebounder. They ain't bringing you over there.
Right.
They're bringing you over there to hoop.
Right.
But you got to Illinois, you got Kendall Gill, you got Nick, you got all these guys in there. But it seems like you found a role that the team needed, as you said, and you became that ultimate glue guy. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah, that's very fair. One thing, I'm going to go back to Simeon. A lot of people don't know, but I led Simeon in scoring and rebounding, me and Nick's senior year. A lot of people don't know that. But let's go back to Illinois now. And when I got to Illinois, I realized that we had Lowell, we had Kenny, we had Kendall. To me, Larry Smith was the phenomenon. Larry Smith was that guy. He was him and Nick shared Mr. Basketball. A lot of people don't know that. But we had Larry and we had Nick, and I was like, oh my God, this is, if you would have seen us in our scrimmages, well, you did on some occasions, but when we was at Huff, man, and it was amazing. It was 10,000 people coming to watch us before the season even started at Huff. It used to be packed.
All up on top of that little runway.
Right. Yeah. And don't let us go to Empty for open gym with the football players and all that. I mean, it was just crazy, man. It was just, the atmosphere was crazy. But because I was coached by Bob Hambrick, I had to realize where I fit in on this team. And it wasn't for me to score, because I didn't need to score. We had enough scores. And Kendall at the time, Kendall progressed into a great scorer. Kendall was not a great scorer. He was all right as a freshman and sophomore, but Kendall progressed into Kendall Gill. He made himself Kendall Gill. Yeah. But I had to see where I fit in. And one thing, Dick Nagy got
rest his soul. Yes,
rest his soul, and God bless him. But Coach Nagy said, hey, man, I know two things that you can do that you do really well. And this is because Coach Nagy kind of had the bigs, Coach Collins had the guards. Yep. He said, play great defense, which keep you on the floor with Lou Henson. Yep. And you rebound the basketball. And I said, well, shoot, if those only two things that I got to do to stay on the floor or to play and get some playing time, that's easy. Because all you got to do is box out to get a rebound and play position defense. So I was like, oh, I could do that all day long. And then I'm going to get all the hustle plays. And then I'm going to try to keep my team pumped up so that we don't lose momentum or that we don't, lose energy. So I got to make sure that, and that's one of the things, even at Simeon, with me and Nick, man, I used to, come on, Nick, let's go. And sometimes, man, that's all you need is somebody to say, hey, let's go. And some clicks and bang, before you know it, man, he done exploded. He got 20 points. You know what I mean? So
no doubt. Well, I'll tell you, you were that guy, man. And now, one, you were my big brother. Two, right, exactly. Following and watching, how you were dedicated to not just your craft, but to the success of the team. Takes me back to Never Nervous Purvis and the number that in Louisville, when everybody was Purvis Ellison and he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that, Louisville's gonna do this and gonna do that. You shut his ass down, E.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that we were in a situation that I had to play well, because Lowell was hurt, Kenny was hurt, and me and Marcus started. So we were in a situation where we had to play well for us to advance. And all I was trying to do is give us a little bit more time for those guys to get healthy. And that goes back to being a glue or whatever you want to call it. But I figured if I keep this guy away from the basket, and Coach Henson came up with a great game plan for me. Said, hey, you pick and roll, you roll to the basket. Hey, if he's open, let's get him the ball. And if he's open, let's get him the ball. But it was a great opportunity for me because I put him in a lot of pick and rolls. He was blocking about 5 to 6 shots a game. But I kept him away from the basket and I put him in a lot of pick and roll situations. And he was used to playing out, you know, in close to the basket. You know, I think I might have told you this story. When we got to Seattle, when we got ready to play Louisville, I played crazy with him, which means that, and I don't know if I told you this, but you laughing, so I must have told you. But when I started the game, and when I walked up out there, I walked up to him and I looked him dead in his eyes and I slapped it. He had his hand out. I slapped his hand hard as I could ever slap a hand ever. Wow! And my hand hurt it for like a minute. And I was just shaking my hand. I was like, hey, buddy, you in for a long night. Not in those words, but I told him, hey, you in for a long night. And he was like, hey, because he knew Nick. He said, hey, Nick, get your boy, man. He crazy, man. He crazy. But that was the perception that I wanted to, at the beginning of the game, I wanted to make sure that I assured him. And then I shot him a bow. in the first 3 minutes. Boom. And the rest is...
Tested his heart. That's what you did.
Yeah. And I'm talking about, man, I'm like, this guy, he ain't even trying to guard me. He ain't trying to get close to me. He not hedging on ball screens. I'm like, this guy's the guy that won the freshman of the year. He won a national championship I was like, yeah. I'm like, man, come on, man. Like, this is the guy. And Coach Nagy said, man, you beat that boy up so bad that they had a video. Coach Nagy said they had a video. They went to a coaches conference on defense, inside defense. And it's like, this is how you don't play defense. So Coach Nagy said, they was like, look at what he's getting away with in there. Look at this, look at that. But the thing was, is positioning and blocking out and using your leverage, getting down low. You know, he was bigger and taller than I was, but I would get down low and scoot him out, boot him out, and make him come over my back. And I think he wound up with 11 points, you know. And I think I had like 8 or 10. So I trade that every day.
Oh, no doubt, especially since he was averaging close to 20 a game. So if you
and then you got to realize, Deon, not only did I have to guard him, but they had another guy who played in the league for about 10 or 12 years named Felton Spencer, who was big and strong, who I figured if I just kept Felton off the boards, I'd be good. And if I just boxed him out, every time the ball was shot, I just find him and box him out. Make him run me over, make him push me out.
About him. I'd actually forgotten about Felton Spencer, but you ain't kidding. He played for at least 10, 12 years in the league.
Yeah. He was a 7-footer too. You know, they had a huge team. Kimbrough and Payne, the coach. I don't know if he's still at Kentucky, but you know, Kenny Payne and LeBradford and they had a squad, man. They had a squad.
They were deep, but y'all gave them the boot. Say, get on out.
Right, yeah, get out the way.
We marching forward. Get your butts on out the way.
Right.
So take me back to your time at Illinois as you were making that climb. I'll say, let me go back further. At the beginning of the year, did you see the talent that you guys had? I mean, yeah, you saw the talent, you saw it in practice. Did you think you would be able to do what it was that you guys did? Because we all know, unfortunately, it didn't end in the championship with that Michigan game. But that 89 team, which is my favorite team ever, orange and blue, and probably my favorite college team ever, was the best college team in the country at that time. Did you see that? Did you guys see that?
I did. I seen it when we were practicing, and the amount of love and camaraderie that we had with each other. It was similar to Simeon, but it was a lot more talent. But the love that that most guys who play at Simeon, they literally together. We do things together. We dress alike. Bob Henry makes sure everybody look alike. You make sure everybody, you wear the same shoes. You wear the same, you know what I mean? So, and this is high school
together.
Oh yeah. That's right. That's right. Hey, I guarantee you that we were probably in high school one of the only high school teams that had pregame meals. If I had to bet, you didn't get to go home, come back to the game, get to leave the school. You don't leave that building. You got a game, you ain't leaving that building. You leave that building, you might as well just keep on going. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's one of the things that at Illinois, I felt like, man, I seen Larry doing stuff. I seen Nick, I seen Bardo, his defense, his aggression, and don't get me wrong, we went at each other. We went at each other hard. You know what I'm saying? Everybody. If you played on that team and you ain't never get dunked on, somebody lying. Everybody got dunked on. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, for even Kenny Ballard, everybody, it was just, I seen, it was like, man, we have a camaraderie and we have a lot of talent. That was a lot of talent assembled on really two teams. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, it was that they would start low in the middle. Kenny was at a forward, and then you had Bardo, you had Kendall, and who else was that? And Nick, right? So those was the five starters, right? So you got those five, and you had me, you had Larry, you had Marcus. I mean, so a lot of times in practice, the second unit, we used to dust them. We used to beat them. And you know how Nick gets. Nick gets mad, and man, he, like, man, are y'all letting them? I just want to play with them. You know what I'm saying? So, and so it would be like, man, like they was like, man, like how they beat? But we actually literally had two teams. Yeah. We had two teams on one. I mean, we were 8-10, we were 8-10 deep sometimes, you know what I mean? And so it was amazing to me to be able to say that I played with these guys and what we accomplished. It was just a little short of what happened, because we played Michigan 3 times. And I mean, all the Illini fans know, but if you go back, if the Illini fans go back and really research it, go back to senior night, which is one of the emotional game for seniors, right? Yeah. And your college career, it's a very emotional game. It's your last game at home. This is it. We played Michigan on senior night in Ann Arbor, and we beat them by 30-something. That same team.
Well, so y'all blew them out both times during the year.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I think we won by 10 or 12, but that time, that game in Ann Arbor, I remember it. We blowed them out like by 30, 20 or 30. Yeah. And they had 5 or 6 first rounders on that team.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I say, unfortunately the better team, and they'll tell you that too. Terry Miller, I see.
Oh yeah. Talk to Sean Higgins. Sean Higgins will tell you. Yeah, Sean will tell you. Like, man, what? Like, man, y'all beat us. I talk to Sean all the time, and he's like, man, but that's just some things are for you, and some things are not for you. One thing I realized at my age and where I'm at in life is God don't make no mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And so I go with the flow. I hear a lot of shit. Oh, we were better. What did they compare this team to? What if you guys would have played? We didn't get to play them. What if you guys would have played UNLV and then Larry Johnson? I said we didn't get to play them. I wish we would have too. Yeah. I wish I would have had the opportunity to play Stacey off and all that. You got to realize, and even the 05, I know a lot of Illini fans, they compare the 05 team to us. Yep. And really, it's unfair to those guys.
It is.
Because they were too small.
And not deep enough.
They were very small. Who was going to guard Nick? Who's going to guard Kendall? They got D Brown. If Kendall takes D Brown on the box, if Steve takes D Brown on the box, those are two guards.
At 6'6".
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Him or Luther didn't have a. And you got to realize Kendall was very mobile, and so was Steve. Steve was Big Ten Player of the Year his sophomore year.
Yeah.
So you got Darren, you got D, you got Luther. So one of them got to guard Nick too.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen.
Right.
Hey, but before we move on to the next topic, right, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now's the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With the new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, more reliable, and with basketball season in play, get in action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years old or older to play, and if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. So I got to send out a little love to my sponsors over at Bet Rivers, because without them, this bad boy ain't rolling. But right, hey, you touched on something that, to me, it is, and I get that question a lot. Who's the best team? Is it the 05 team or is it the 89 team? And I tell people all the time, it's not even close. And a lot of that is because, as you mentioned, just the physical size of that 89 team. But it's also the depth in the bench. That 89 team can go 9-10 deep.
Right.
You know, that 05 team, maybe 6 deep. And then even those guys weren't as big or as athletic as that 89 team. But they also throw around the, what if they had played the Fab Five?
Yeah.
Which I played the Fab Five. And
right,
I can tell you, in my opinion, that's another game that's not even close.
Yeah. You know what, Deon? You talk about our depth, but and this is one person that's kind of left out a lot of the times when you talk about this 89 team, is Andy Kaufman.
Yep.
A lot of people forget about Andy, but Andy was probably, and now think about all these guys who was on this team: Kendall, Nick, Kenny, Lowell, think about all that. Bardo, Larry, myself, Marcus. Andy might have been the best pure scorer out of all of them, out of all of us.
Yep.
He was a walking bucket, but you got to realize, couldn't jump over
a paper cup.
But guess what? So you got to add him, Larry, Andy, me, Marcus. That's 9. That's 4 guys, and we playing against that starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother team, man. And it's amazing because Andy was just a scorer.
Yes.
And I when I first seen him, I was like, this being from Chicago, I'm like, Coach Nagy was like, Coach Nagy recruited him. Coach Nagy was like, he can play. He's gonna be a compliment to you. I'm like, this dude gonna slow us down. He's not, you know what I'm saying? Yep. This dude, you give him that ball on the wing and it's a bucket.
Yep, whether he was shooting it or driving it. I have people ask me, but Andy Kaufman is one of the best scorers I have ever played with, ever. Yeah. And I mean, I went on to play a long time professionally, as you know, of course, all through high school. That dude could put the ball in the basket.
He was a scorer.
I mean, remember, he averaged 44 points a game in high school.
Right.
44.
Yeah. Yeah, but Andy was on that. Andy, a lot of people forget about Andy on that team. That was a compliment, man. That, I mean, Andy could get you a bucket. Defensively, he wasn't as quick as some of the other guys, but if we needed a basket, put him in the game and let him do his thing. And then if they double team him, I mean, you got people crashing and you got people, I mean, going to the boards, and it was just amazing how that worked out, man. That was a great team. That 89 team. Who on the 2005 team could guard Andy?
Oh, no one. I mean,
if you go position by position, I love them guys. And don't get me wrong.
So do I. This is no
I love them
disrespect.
guys, and I'm proud. I'm so proud of what they've done, and I think that they were actually cheated out of the national championship. I mean, That's my personal opinion. That's my personal opinion. I think they were the national, and I believe that they were the best team. That Arizona game, I think my daughter had to be 10 maybe, or she cried. She started crying when they went down.
Wow.
And I walked out the room, and when I came back in, I'm like, what the? I had to watch the instant replay to find out what happened. Like, wow. And she was like, Dad, they won. She was a little girl, man. And all the little kids, they was crushing on D Brown. And
of course.
She's like, oh, D Brown. I said, hey, watch it now.
They don't get it too far ahead of yourself.
Right.
I'm like you, man. I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning watching that game.
Yeah, I had to watch it to see what happened, because I've never heard or anything like that. And then to see it and to see how they played, and Luther was on fire, and it was amazing. Darren hit some key shots. It was amazing, man. I'm so proud of those guys, and the university should be as well. I hate that they have to compare us, but if you have to compare, I mean, apples to apples and oranges to oranges is really no comparison.
No, there isn't. But you're right. Those are my guys. Love them. James Augustine was at the game the other day, this past weekend. Of course, D is doing his thing over at UIC. Darren's about to get ready to box. I don't know why we're doing that one, but
man, I don't understand that neither, bro.
That's not one of those.
I think that Kendall is boxing also, and Kendall is very trained, and he's had some professional fights. He's undefeated. So, I mean, I'm more so for Kendall boxing because of his training and what he's got going on. But I don't know, that caught me off guard when they said Darren Williams was boxing. I was like,
Yeah, it threw me off a little bit too. But
I got to cheer for him.
Oh, no doubt. He's in the line now. He's in the line now. You can't do but that.
Yeah, I got to cheer for
him. But so before we go forward, I got to ask you this, Biggie.
Okay, all right.
Because I think I don't know what it feels like to have reached that level of the Final Four. I mean, we got bumped a couple of times, going into the round of 16, 32, and we ended up getting bumped. What's that feeling like? What's the night like the day before you guys go in to play that semifinal game?
I think it's a big hoopla, man. You got people coming out the woodworks that I mean, them, but man, I ain't seen you in 6 years, 8 years, since I was back at Simeon. I ain't seen you, since whenever. You got people coming out the woodworks. The coaches do a great job of trying to keep us together and away from each other. They pair you with, how they pair you on the road with another teammate. They try to call meetings. They try to keep the guys as close to them as possible. But that night, our team, we had a bunch. Kenny and Lowe were great leaders for that team, because it's like, hey man, go get in the bed. Everybody go to bed. They ain't have to do no bed check, because them two guys would come around and be like, hey man, what you doing, man? Where you going? What you doing? Go to your room, man, lay down, man. We got a game tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And so we kind of governed ourselves, which was a great thing. We were able to govern ourselves, and I think that wasn't an issue. I think that more I don't want to like to say luck, but I think that Michigan just at the time they were playing a lot better because of the situation that they were put in. And they was put in a situation where their coach left. They got another coach. And he kind of like just, Sean tell me, he said, man, Coach Freer was like this. Coach Freer, Schembeck would say, I don't want to miss the Arizona State guy coaching the Michigan team. So he sent them into the tournament with Fisher.
Okay.
And so he kind of was like, hey guys, we just gonna play. You know, I mean, we're not gonna do no yelling and all that. I'm gonna just coach, you guys play.
Wow.
And Sean said it kind of was like rec to them a little bit. You know what I mean? It was kind of like being at the rec, you know? So if you made a mistake, it wasn't all that yelling, hollering, fussing, cussing. So they just played, man. And then you get the tournament, which we all know that it's a whole nother season.
It is.
You get hot in that tournament. If you get you a cup, you win them first 2 games, and maybe the third one you going to, you know what I mean? You hot.
Make a run, man. You can make a run.
You can make a run. It's just like one thing Hamburg used to tell us: 6 games, and you city champ, right?
Yep.
I mean, think about the same thing in the NCAA tournament.
That's true.
It's the same thing.
I think a lot of that pressure that was taken off of them because of, the coaching change really probably helped them. But it still came down to one missed block out, because again.
And I don't think it really, I watched that play several times. I don't think it was a block out. I think the ball took a funny bounce.
That can't be.
What happened was when the ball was shot, Nick had him boxed out. If you watch the video, but the ball went, and Nick had a 40-inch vertical.
Yeah. And
the ball bounced, hit the rim funny, and went over Nick's head. Not even he could.
Second bounce.
Right. So it wasn't the box out. It was the ball hitting the rim the way that it hit the rim.
Right. Well, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
That's what happened. I don't think he missed the assignment. I mean, he led Illinois in rebounding that year. With all those guys. So I don't think he missed assignment. I think that the way that the ball hit the rim is what gave him the opportunity to tip it back in. I don't think it was a missed block.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I wasn't even wearing orange yet, and my heart was broken. the same as everybody else.
But Deon, what you got to realize is, and you've told the people, but when we were younger, Hamburg made me stay at school. I mean, and in the wintertime, Chicago, it get dark. Like now, it's getting dark at 5, 6 o'clock. Yeah. We were there at 6:30, 7 o'clock some nights, and I had to work you out. I had to make sure you had this down. I had to make sure you could drop that. And so if I make it, you made it. You understand what I'm saying? So, and that's how, even when I left, I continued to watch you, because this is my little brother. I spent so much time and so much effort. I want to make sure when I look at all the leaderboards and the leading score, I was like, hey, I contributed to that. I say I contributed to that because I say this guy took he was like a sponge though, Deon. He was like, and it was 2 guys. It was you and a guy named Michael King.
Yep.
Y'all was both together. And I was working out, and he left and went to King. And you was like a sponge. I was like, man, I can't get rid of this kid, man. Like, hey, are we working out? Are we working out? And you wore that little black sleeve on your knee. And, and I used to be like, God, I can't get rid of this guy. You know what I mean? But it all paid off in the long run, because when I started coming back to the school and I started seeing, especially in high school, I was like, oh man, he's a McDonald's All-American. He's led Simeon in scoring or rebounding, his drop step. Montel Griffin, the boxer who went to Simeon, he always tells me, he said, Irv, can I tell you something? I said, yeah, well, go ahead, Montel. He said, you were Tim Duncan before Tim Duncan.
And he's right.
He said, we was taught to keep the ball over our head. We didn't bring the ball down. We was taught to chin the ball. Them guards weren't coming in there smacking the ball out of our hands. And those were the things that I passed on to you to enable that you could be where you are as far as when you was at Illinois, I seen those things. I was like, man, look at Deon, man. He got the ball over his head, man. He's chinning the ball. He throwing outline. He not bringing the ball down on his rebounds. He keeping the ball up. He's shooting his your bank shot. You remember how many bank shots we had to shoot? Yeah. I tell people, man, when I was a sophomore, George Stanton, our assistant coach, he used to stay at practice, and I used to have to shoot 500 bank shots, and I had to make at least 250 just to go to the next spot.
Yep.
You know, so I'm proud of what you've accomplished as well, because it's just like brothers. You know, like you keep saying I'm your big brother, but that's what we do. We pass on to the next person, the next person, the next person. So I love it because you're successful. I love it because you're the leading scorer. That every time I see that, hey, Deon Thomas is the all-time leading scorer. I'm like, yeah, you know, that makes me feel good inside. Not just because I had something to do with it, but because of the person that you are and how humble you are and the things that I know what you went through. Yeah. I know what you went through to get there. I know the things that were said. I know the things you got to realize. You know, I was there. Oh, I went through a whole lot during that same time period with Bruce Pearl and the University. I was there. I went through. I got interrogated. I got it because it was said that I was the one.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. I know. I mean, but
I'm just saying, a lot of the Illini fans and a lot of Illini Nation don't know, but they were saying, hey, Ervin said this, and Ervin said, and I was supposed to be the person because me and you were so close.
Yep.
You know, and I didn't tell you to come to Illinois. I didn't tell you to come. Hey, that was a decision that you made on your own without, as far as I know of it, without any persuasion from anybody. So, you know, for somebody to say that I said or that I gave you something, not true, you know, and I live by that today, you know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. That's why I jump for joy when I see what God has for you was for you all the time.
Right.
It was for you the whole time, for you to be the all-time leading scorer. That wasn't for you to be in Iowa City. That wasn't for you. And you made the right decision, and I'm glad you did make that decision. But it was a lot of ridicule of you and all the things that you had to go through in order for you to be. And I get passionate about this because I know what you went through. I was there your freshman year. So I know what you went through. I know how it feels to sit out. I know how you was feeling.
Crushed, bro. Crushed.
Hey, can you imagine you can you imagine you with us? Oh my God.
I tell people, they ask me, well, during that time, what's your biggest regrets? I tell them I have two. I have two regrets. One is that I didn't get a chance to play with you guys. That's my biggest regret. And the second one, which I don't know if it's the biggest, that's why we can qualitate it however we do, but the fact that I truly believe in my heart of hearts that Jimmy Collins was going to be the next head coach after Lou Henson. And that garbage tainted his name, and they did not give him that job. Those are the two things that crushed me during that time. But
and the crazy part about it is he wasn't found guilty of nothing. Like,
no, I know.
He didn't do anything. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And he didn't do anything, you know. So yeah, I can concur, man. You know, I know how you felt. I was there with you, you know, so I know how you felt. And that's a hurting feeling, man, to you know, man, we just came off of a Final Four year.
Yeah. And to be punished for something that you did not do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was crushing. Right. But I want to touch one more topic, E, before
okay.
I know you follow the team. Mm-hmm. You know, we just had a tough loss against Arizona. Mm-hmm. I just want to get your feel. What do you think, and how do you see, and what's your projection for the team? I mean, I've told people this team to me is a combination of the length and athletic ability and skill level of a team like, you know, that 89 team, because you guys were just deep, and this team is deep. They probably going 9-10 deep. And very similar to, say, the 01-02 teams. When you look at this team, what do you see? What's your thoughts?
I think that the presence of Kofi, his presence on the interior is, and we had this talk last year when you were here. I said, Deon, you need to work with him on his footwork and get him. But he worked with somebody because he's gotten a whole lot better. He's improved. And him not going to the league last year, this has helped him because he's become a better player. But I think that their mix of players that they have, once they gel, I think that the Big Ten and the country has a problem. I think right now they haven't quite gelled together yet. I think that the Hawkins kid, phenomenal.
Yes.
He's a lottery pick as far as I'm concerned. You know, his height, his length, his ability to shoot the basketball, put it on the floor, you know, he can flat out, he's a lottery pick, I think, when it's time for him to become one. Right. But I think that, you know, the glue, you got Frankie.
Monte.
Monte is the glue. You got, I love Cabello. I just love that kid, man. I think, you know, to me, man, he's a small version of Larry Smith.
Yeah.
I love that kid. And I think that I like this team. I think they're very well coached too. I like Coach Underwood for this team because a lot of times the coach that you have, you kind of image of your coach. You know what I'm saying? You're kind of an image of your coach. You know, like we talk about Bob Hambrick and how we was disciplined. I mean, you know, when we get into our four corners, that was just discipline, and it wasn't no turning the ball over. We could have open shots, you couldn't take them. Yep. You know, even with Coach Henson. Coach Henson was a defensive mastermind.
Yes,
he was a defensive mastermind, and if you ever played him in checkers, you know he's not going to lose because he looked 5 or 6 steps ahead. You know what I'm saying?
And then people don't realize Coach talks stuff too when he whooping you at checkers.
Oh yeah.
They talk to you why he beat you.
Right. So you kind of take on the image of your coach, and I like this team, man. And I know I listen to Bardo's podcast a lot, and Bardo had them picked to win the Big Ten, and so. But I think that right now they got to, once they get to gelling. I think this is one of those teams that towards the end of, you know, in the middle of February, towards the end of the Big Ten season, they one of those teams like last year's team. They will gel together. They'll come together, and they'll probably win the Big Ten tournament, win the Big Ten, because that was all last year. That was just chemistry.
Yep.
Think about it. Io's hurt.
Yeah.
And this team just gels the next man up. And this team kind of gelled together. And I think that that's the same kind of team that they have now. I love this team. I love what they're doing. I think that once they realize what their identity is, and they're going to be awesome. And another great addition to that team is Tim Anderson.
Yeah.
Tim is a bona fide trainer. He knows how to get kids better. I've been around Tim for years, and Tim is a trainer. He's a great pickup. He's probably been the greatest pickup beside Kobe coming back to Illinois. I mean, Tim, he knows the city. He knows all the coaches. Yep. We can get in there and recruit now. He's a great coach. He's a great trainer. He knows what to do. He knows how to get kids better, and it's amazing. They got a great staff now, I think, too. And I think that the people that's on the staff are committed to Illinois basketball.
And that was what was important. I agree.
Yeah. I think in the past, and I'm not talking about Chin or nobody, but I think that they just wasn't committed to the process of Illinois basketball.
Yeah. You know, two great guys, and they were, you know, again, Chin and Coach O, and great guys. Love them, respect them. They helped put us back on the map. But I do agree with you 100% with what we have now, bringing Chester Frazier back, who has
exactly
those uniforms the same that we have.
Yeah.
Jeff Alexander, who was on staff with Coach, but Jeff and I used to talk when he was at Evansville, and I was coaching at UIC as well as at Lewis and
Right.
Clark. And we would talk, but every time we talked Illinois basketball, because he's from Washington, Illinois, right outside
Right.
Peoria. So
Right.
he's grown up an Illinois fan. So yeah, I mean, this staff is and I have to take my hat off to Brad for doing that. You lose your whole staff, but then you bring in and put together another rock star staff. That says something about who the head coach is. But Biggie, I always like to give my guests the last minute, because I hadn't had you on here over an hour, and I try to keep. But I'm going to give you the last minute. Whatever you want to Illini Nation. The mic is yours, brother.
I would just like to say, I appreciate the Illini Nation. They were good to me. They were good to my team, my teammates. I like to send a shout out to, and he doesn't get a lot of credit, but Rod Cardinal is probably, a lot of people don't know this, but Rod Cardinal for years and years and years was the glue to Illinois basketball. Rod was the type of person who made sure that the players had what they needed, made sure that our injuries were taken care of and tended to in a reasonable amount of time. When I said about Lowell and Kenny getting hurt in our crest for the Final Four, Rod made sure that both of those guys were back by that Syracuse game. And you're talking about 3 days, a slip on the floor in Minneapolis and a knee injury that some people would have, called it a season, but Kenny was able to get back. So I like to shout out to Rod, and just to the Illini Nation, man, and to you, Deon. I'm so proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm ecstatic about this team, and I'm just so thankful to God, man, that He allowed me to be able to play basketball. Because basketball, and Hamburg used to tell us this all the time, basketball can take you a long way in this world. And I'm thankful and I'm proud to say that basketball has really been good to me. And so I just want to continue to have blessings for the University of Illinois and for the staff and the people. And just my prayers go out to Coach Nagy's family, the most recent passing of him. It's just a blessing, man, to be able to say that I wore orange and blue. And one of the greatest things, I still wear it. And I live in Atlanta, and people say, "Oh man, why you got that on? You not a Bulldogs fan?" Nah, I'm a Bulldog. I like the Bulldogs, but in my heart, man, if you cut me like they say, I bleed orange and blue. They say, "Why you like Illinois?" I say, "Because that's where I played." So that's how I feel about the university. I'm excited about what's to come. I think that we got a great shot in football coming in the future. I just from some of the games this year was excited, and people say, "Oh man, you root for Illinois?" Yeah, but you got. I understand. I'm in Georgia Tech land, and I'm in Bulldogs land, and Georgia was having a phenomenal season. But I'm an Illini at heart, and I love the Illini. I love what it stands for and the people, and that's something I can't ever forget or ever turn back from. So thanks, man, for having me on the podcast.
That's truly my pleasure. And I'm gonna say this wholeheartedly, bro. I love you. Yeah. I love that.
I love you too, brother.
None of what I have done in my life is possible without Ervin Small. So
thank you, brother.
And if anybody on here is listening, you heard me say it, and I said it right. I celebrate you and those hours in the gym all the time, because you laid the foundation for me. Because again, I hadn't played basketball. I knew nothing about basketball. And you say I was a sponge. I was only a sponge because you was pouring water on me. And
that's
I was listening to every damn thing that you said, because I knew it was coming from Hambrick, and I knew it was coming from you, and I knew it was coming with love. So my appreciation to you, brother, has
thank you, D. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, brother.
So Illini Nation, we're gonna shut it down. You have my big brother tonight. Celebrate him as I do. He's one of our greats. He may not hang up there in the rafters, but believe me, none of that crap happens without this guy. He is the glue, the ultimate glue that held Simeon together and then came along and held the Illini together. E, I love you, brother. I appreciate
Love you too, D.
joining me.
Tell your
Illini,
wife and kids I said hello.
I will do. No doubt. She's gonna be coming down. I want to sit right next to that fireplace you had down there again.
Come on, man. They got that. They got that. Tell them, come on.
Oh,
I got something else for them though, man.
All right, I see. We gonna make our way back. So I see.
All right.
But Illini Nation, I want to say thank you. First of all, thank you to my host, the Field of 68 Media. Without those brothers, could not be on here. Please make sure you like and subscribe. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. They have a lot of great content from all the 68 top programs in the country. So check them out. And also to my sponsors, Bet River Sportsbook. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for sponsoring this podcast for the year. But now we're going to shut it down. We're going to go love, peace, and hair grease, Illini Nation.